Hello, friends and artists. Mrs. Gordon here with our very last week for the month of May on pop art. So we have learned so much about pop art. We learned about how it was really popular. It started in the 50s, 1950s. It became very popular in the 1960s. It tried to bring art to the people by making art about things that most everybody could identify with. And we took a look at the art of Mr. Andy Warhol. We took a look who was actually inspired. If you look at these Campbell soups right here, when we get to today's artist, you'll be like, oh, I see how he inspired this guy. Yeah. We looked at the art of Sister Mary Corita Kent. And we took a look last week at the fabulous art near and dear to my heart, Mr. Keith Haring. And really, Keith Haring wasn't actually part of the pop art movement. He came shortly thereafter, but he was very much inspired by the pop art movement and kind of continued the pop art movement forward, which is what we're going to see today with the art of Japanese artist Takashi Murakami. And Takashi Murakami, as you might have noticed in the video you just watched, speaks Japanese and speaks with a very heavy speaks English with a very heavy Japanese accent. And he came from Japan to the United States and was very still much inspired by Japanese culture like manga and anime and kawaii, which some of you guys might be familiar with, any of that like cute drawing stuff, how to draw cute things, right? That's kawaii. And he became very well known for these like smiley face flowers. And this is a self-portrait of him. He's done collaborations where he's sold his material, he sold his art with different companies because he again wants to market his art so that it can reach everybody, not just be for the people who can afford his paintings. When he does these works, he has a lot of people who work for him, almost like an art factory, kind of like Mr. Andy Warhol. And again, you see the inspiration. Mr. Andy Warhol, he had the repeated images just like Mr. Murakami. Mr. Murakami also interacts, just like kind of Andy Warhol did, with a lot of celebrities. Here he is with Billie Eilish. He's also done work for very famous high-end merchandise like Louis Vuitton. He's done this fabulous bag for them. But today, friends, we're going to make art inspired by Mr. Murakami's flowers. And I want you to take a look very closely at the face. Let me see if I can go back and find another face that's a little closer. So the faces are all kind of the same. And so how Mr. Murakami does this is he draws it, and then he gives it to one of his workers who puts it into a computer, and then they print it over and over and over again, very much like Mr. Andy Warhol. But if you look at the faces, right, it's like this really kind of like smile. It reminds me of a section of orange. And if you notice on the very top of the smile, it's not a straight line, it's more of a curved line. And then the two oval eyes. And then he's repeated this over and over to make a pattern, and also by changing the color of these faces. Well, today, friends, we're going to use that face, that smile and those two eyes with a little shiny mark in them to make our art inspired by Mr. Takashi Murakami. So let's take a look at it. So I thought what would be fun, instead of just drawing his flowers over and over again, and I actually got this idea from another art teacher, is what if we choose something, draw something, pick something to draw, and it could be something I have here or something that you want to have. And then, so I kind of tried out some different things, like a piece of candy and a spatula and a pizza and a little tent or a little teepee and a hot air balloon, a pencil, an ice cream cone. I did do the flower in case you guys are really interested in doing that. A hamburger, a cactus. So I tried all of these, and then I tried their faces out, the little Murakami-inspired kind of smiley faces out. And then I picked one. I picked the cactus. And I repeated the cactus over and over again on my paper. And then I colored it in. So we're going to learn today how to draw the Murakami face. You get to pick what you want to put it on. You might want to put it on a cupcake or a pizza or a taco. You might want to put it on a flower, like maybe you really love the idea of the flowers, or something else, anything you want, you could put it on. So let's take a look. I've got a piece of square paper. You can use whatever size and whatever kind of paper you want. I would recommend starting to draw it with a pencil, or maybe practicing with a pencil and then starting to draw it with a marker. Because sometimes when you go over a pencil with a marker, everything gets kind of squished, right? If it's the marker, the pencil line is so thin that when the thick marker line goes over it, it makes everything look all squished. I also have something to add color to my work today. I have some markers to color in my work. And one of the things about Mr. Murakami that he calls his art, he calls it super flat. And he was inspired by traditional Japanese artists who would kind of repeat an image over and over again. And instead of trying to make it look like there's a foreground someplace close to you and a background someplace far away from you, they made everything kind of the same distance away. Now, I did kind of go, even though like some of these overlap, which makes this cactus look closer to you than this cactus still looks very close to you. So it still looks this kind of super flat idea. And that's what we're going with today, with the incredible happy smiley face. So I'm just going to start drawing with a marker. And I think I'm going to do a cupcake. That's going to be my when I draw. And so I know that I'm going to need to repeat my cupcake over and over again to make kind of this pattern like I did with my cactuses. So I'm going to draw the bottom of my cupcake, and you could make a cupcake or you can make a coffee mug. I should have done a coffee mug. Now that I've drawn my cupcake, let me add some lines in here. So now that I've drawn my cupcake, I'm going to add the face to it. Now the face is pretty special because it's not just a regular smile. It's like this kind of smile. So I know I want my mouth to be here. I'm going to do a very slight curve like a rainbow line, and then a very deep curve like a smile line. And that makes my smiley face. And then up above it, I'm going to make two ovals at a slight diagonal. Now you can vary away from this 100%. I'm only going to color in the eyes, but I'm going to leave part of it white for the shiny. And he actually has two shines in his eye. But I just, for the sake of simpleness, because it's kind of small, I'm just going to make one. So it's as simple as that sentence. And then once you have one, you're going to start to add more to it. And maybe you make them the same size. Maybe you make them bigger, smaller. You're just going to keep filling up your page with whatever object you chose, adding the smile over and over again. You're going to just keep going. Maybe this one's going off the page a little bit. We don't know which is in front. So there's that mouth, slight curve like a smile line, or slight curve like a rainbow line, curve like a smile line. So we're making all these cute cupcakes, or pizzas or cactuses or really, and now I'm going to need to start kind of putting some behind and some in front, I think, here. Maybe this time the highlights down low. So I'm just going to continue to add, and maybe I have some smaller ones up here. You can vary the size, or you can keep all the sizes kind of the same. When I'm done drawing them, I'm going to color in, for sure, all of the cupcakes. I might color them in the same way, or I might color them in different ways. Like it might be fun to have different colored cupcakes. But if you were doing something like a pizza or a hamburger, that would kind of have almost the same color over and over again. Notice when I have two that overlap, I pick one to be behind and one to be in front. Like if I wanted to draw another little small one right here, see how I put it behind? I stopped, and that made it look like it was behind it. If you do cupcakes, you're going to be ready for fifth grade, or third grade rather, where we draw cupcakes. You're not in third grade yet. So friends, have fun with this. I can't wait to see what you make your cute creatures into. Maybe it's a cactus, maybe it's a cupcake, maybe it's an ice cream cone, or the traditional kind of flower. Remember when you're done to color all of your cute little flower inspired smiley faces in, whether they're cactuses, cupcakes, or something else. And I hope you enjoyed learning about the really fun pop art inspired Takashi Murakami. And I hope you have a good time making your art, friends. Happy art making.